We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. It's week number 1 of the college football season. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Share it with your significant other. Share it with your neighbor. Share it across your personal social media platforms. Welcome on in to the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Welcome in. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a PATC legend in the comment section and in your phone calls. Week 1, here we go. There's a lot of games I left on the sideline. Lots of games. North Carolina, South Carolina. The Houston Cougars, UTSA. I left a whole bunch of games. I picked 8. 8 locks. This is it. This is it. Greg the Cooler finally goes away. After torment, after agony for the last 12 months last year. Week 0, I went all pear-shaped, 1-3. This week, I destroyed the demons. I destroyed the ghost. I destroyed the freezer. I destroyed the moniker Greg the Cooler. That's it. I've had enough. We're going to rock and roll. Now, not on tonight's show, but sometime tomorrow or Thursday early, when we do a live show, we will post the games that I picked tonight, and you, the PATC community, using the same spread, are going to vote on what side you take, and we're going to keep track of the PATC community's winning percentage versus Greg soon to be Heater's winning percentage. Right now we are tied. After week 0, we're both sitting on a 25% winning percentage. We're both 1-3. Holy smokes, that is just awful. But I expect a big turnaround. Before we get into our show, I want to thank everybody that has come into the house. Scott P., thank you so much. Randy Taylor, evening all. Skoducky, let's go. Good evening, everyone. Our Webb is back in the house. Holy smokes. Bruce Harris with his boomer Randy Taylor. Let's pick him. Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good tonight. How can I feel good? How can I possibly feel good? What is it about me? I keep losing and losing and losing and losing, but it's got to turn around, right? Even a blind gopher picks up an acorn once in a while. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. BR70262, thanks for coming on in. Brandon, yes. Sean, thank you. Tony, tough Tony, row the boat. Thursday night, Minnesota Golden Gophers versus Nebraska. Yes, that's one of the 8 games that we picked for our selections this week 1. I have things to say about that game. It's time to bring the oar into the studio and start, well, let's just say, start clubbing on some Cornhuskers. And why Grape 87, week 1 is finally here. Randy Taylor, gotta grab my mug. Look at that beautiful mug. Look at that beautiful mug. Cloak and Dagger, college football. Peek around the corner. Get yours in the link in the description. Go to the merchandise store. There's shirts, hats. Daniel Montecastle, monologue incoming. Take Indiana against the spread, against the Buckeyes. We'll see if I took that game. We'll see soon enough. David Hackett, hello, Greg. Hello to you, David. Appreciate you coming on in. The big Lubbock is in, the architect. Let's do it, Greg. Give us that insider info. We'll also talk about the ACC. I mean, that's the title of the show, right? We're going to talk a lot of college football week 1, but the title of the show is ACC's indecision is causing a delay in regards to the commissioners and Jack Swarbrick, the 10 conference commissioners and Jack Swarbrick. It's causing a delay on them making a decision about the college football playoffs. Are they going to change it? And if they are going to change it for 2024, 2025, what is it going to look like? What is it going to look like? Well, they're not going to make any decisions tomorrow. If this hasn't, we don't know, ladies and gentlemen. We do not know if we're going to have 10 FBS conferences or 9 for 2024. It looks like we're going to have 9. It looks like we're going to lose the Pac-12. But until that's official, until we get a decision on what ACC is going to do and the domino effect that's caused by that decision in regards to the possibility, even though it's a long shot, the possibility Washington State, Oregon State, Stanford, and California trying to rebuild the Pac-12. We need a decision on what the ACC is going to do. And we'll talk about that. I talked about it on our last live show. Things haven't changed too much. We'll get into that. Buckshot Kid, good evening, Greg. Good evening to you, Matt Neeson. Good evening. Hello, let's go. Go Cyclones. Go Cyclones. I'm assuming J.J. Cole hasn't won quarterback one yet. But I think by the middle of the year, end of the year, J.J. Cole time. It's a coming. His time is arriving down at Ames, Iowa. It's going to happen at some point. Keeping head on a swivel. Randy Taylor, remember your last lock? No, I do not. The key to being a loser, the key to being... the key to get rid of this moniker, Greg the Cooler, I have to forget. I cannot let the losses beat me twice. I got to shed them. Now, unfortunately, we're keeping tight control. We're keeping track of the winning percentage. It's 25%. I can't get out of that. But the turnaround starts tonight. Tonight, it starts tonight. AMAC, howdy. AMAC, let's go. Sean, Greg, the Iceman, Flugar, Renee, Red Raiders. Woo! Oh, come on, Tough Tony. Come on. Weatherman just reported an unexpected cold front. I read that first part, moving towards the Twin Cities. I thought you were talking about the Gophers game Thursday night. It's going to be perfect college football weather. 80 degrees, sunny. Perfect. John Napper, let's talk some football. Tony was taking a shot at me, obviously. Greg, the Arctic Blaster Flugar. Skolducky comes in with an elbow shot. More like coming off the top rope, giving me a flying elbow. Go Big Red. Those blind Gophers can get their eyesight next week, after this week, after they get done playing Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers. Holy smokes. Ryan Matson, Sky Yuma. I'm ready for the game Thursday night. We're going to be doing a live watch party. We'll be keeping an eye in Utah and Florida, but we're going to be doing a live reaction throughout the Gopher Cornhusker game, so join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Alan says, howdy, ladies. J-Rod, 112278. Hello. Good. BLG is in the house. Greg, they don't have the votes. AAR is stating loud and clear. Here's Mr. Buckeye. Jared Jones is in the house. Kyle McCord has been named QB1 for the Buckeyes. But Devin Brown is going to play. He's going to play in game one. Will he start the second half? Some indecision by Ryan Day early in the season. I remember when Jim Harbaugh had that same issue last year with Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. 2 years ago. No, was it last year? It was last year. And I made a big point of it. I said, it didn't cause a hiccup to Michigan, and this might not give a hiccup to the Buckeyes. We shall see. Son of Sarek is in the house. I wonder what the Florida State power brokers really think about the ACC expansion. We talked about it in the last live show. According to now 3 different sources, they're not really thinking much about it. It's not really affecting their plans. Again, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into the ACC here after we go through our picks. Then we're going to go through ACC expansion. Go Gators. Ooh, Brandon comes in with a Go Gators. Elliot Cruz, ACC fan here, not Florida State fan. I hope they do not expand. The Gore and the long-term contract give ACC an advantage as media contracts might take a dive in the near future. A very different perspective by Elliot Cruz. It does have some logic behind it. What if we keep going with this media recession? What if the sports bubble did truly pop? What if everybody comes back towards the ACC, where their next media contract actually shrink? Interesting point. I don't necessarily agree. I would not put my chips in the middle of the table with that assessment, but anything is a possibility. Elliott Cruz likes the long-term stability that the ACC grant of rights gives to many of those schools. Steve just got here. Mr. Cincinnati Bearcat is in the house. No Abunga. Aloha. Bulls and Ducks are both winning this weekend. I'll be here to watch the party Thursday night. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. Renee has the Gators covering. He actually believes they're going to outright win on Thursday. Minnesota Swedish meatballs or Minnesota Juicy Lucy burger? I'm going to get in trouble both ways on this. I am not a cheese with a burger type of guy. I don't like my favorite. I have a whole theory on it. I don't think you guys want me to go down that rabbit hole. I think there's a big dairy conspiracy. They're putting cheese on everything. And it not used to be that way. Back in the day, we didn't put cheese on everything. We put fried onions, mushrooms, fried mushrooms. So I will go with the Swedish meatballs. However, Swedish meatballs, there is a large range of Swedish meatballs. Many of them are just terrible, but some are outstanding. Me and the little general, the last time we went into Wabasha, a little town on the Mississippi River, southern Minnesota. We stopped in a place, I think it was Lake City. I got a bowl of Swedish meatballs. Not good. Bacon, yes, bacon. Cheese, Wisconsin, bad. Maybe that's. Don't need to put. We don't put cheese on our steak. Right? We got a nice fillet of fish. We don't put cheese on it. Cheese on a hot dog is horrific. Come on, admit that. Very rarely should you use cheese. Even a grilled cheese sandwich is better than a grilled ham and cheese. Cheese with meat, I have a whole crazy theory about all that. And I know none of you want to listen to it because you think I'm all crazy. Okay, let's get to football. The fat guy from Minnesota has spoken about his preference on burgers. Let's go. Here we go. Okay. Write this down. Here are, peek around the corner, Greg the Cooler, his 8 great picks for this week against the spread. And I will post this on my Twitter account tonight or tomorrow. And then when we get done with you all making the picks on our next live show where we do a poll, real-time poll, the poll's up there for a minute. Everybody picks who they want, and we take the higher percentage of you, the voters, and that's the PATC community picks. Again, we'll go Greg the Cooler versus the PATC community. Game number 1 that I have selected. Colorado at TCU. Gary says the only thing better than cheese on a burger is extra cheese on a burger. You're killing me, Gary. You're killing me. Okay, Greg, what goes on a burger. Bacon, fried onions, raw onions, mushrooms. That's all you need. That's all you need. Maybe even a little bit of avocado. Maybe an egg. Don't put cheese on a burger. But we're going to get away from that. Colorado at TCU. We are taking here a peek around the corner. We are at tomato. Yes, tomato. Tomato, lettuce. TCU minus 20.5. We're taking the Horned Frogs, giving 20.5 points to the Colorado Buffaloes. We are actually going to be doing a live show on this game Saturday. We're going to be popping up live about 11:45 Eastern, 10:45 Central. This is games at big noon on Fox. We're going to be taking the Horned Frogs minus 20.5. Now, they lost Max Duggan. They lost their great wide receiver, Johnson. They lost a whole bunch of guys. But you got to remember, TCU's number one quarterback going into last year was Chandler Morris. He got injured. He's coming back. Of course, they lost a great wide receiver. They do have a guy, Savion Williams, who looks like he can be wide receiver one for the Horned Frogs. Now, they're not going to have the year that they had last year. They don't have the horses. But they got Sonny Dykes. They got a really good special teams. They got the all Big 12 kicker coming back, Griffin Kell. They got a really good punter coming back. He's coming back next year. You take a look at Colorado, it's too much, too soon, too fast. Too many changes. I think Coach Sanders just went too aggressive in flipping this roster. Of course, you have to have a major flip. Everybody does it, but he went to the extreme, and I don't think it's going to work out. It was too late in the year. He was not able to attack the transfer portal. The later transfer portal is not as conducive to flipping the roster as the early transfer portal right after the season. Shedeur Sanders is an interesting quarterback. He was a 4-star. I didn't think much of him. I didn't think he had a big enough arm. I still question the arm. But I was surprised at Jackson State, looking at the tape. If you watch the spring game, I was also impressed. He does seem to be able to process the field, and he throws the ball with timing with his receivers. I was actually coming out of that game. Shedeur Sanders rose in stock in my eyes. But, he does it. They don't have the team, guys. And everybody knows it. Jimmy Horn transfer, University of South Florida, gives them a dependable sort of weapon on wide receiver. Dylan Edwards is the speedster running back. Travis Hunter's going to be playing both the secondary and the receiver, and he's legit. He's a first-round NFL draft pick. But they're going to get squashed at the line of scrimmage. We think the Horned Frogs are going to absolutely roll over Colorado. And the more we look at the Buffs' schedule, it's going to be a challenge to win 3 games. It's going to be a challenge. Now, does this mean that I believe Deion Sanders is going to be a failure at Colorado? No, I do not. Let's just wait till see at the end of the year. Let's see what type of recruiting, what he can do in the transfer portal, what his NIL program can produce at Colorado. It really is unfair and completely unfair to judge Deion Sanders and what he can do at the University of Colorado in this first year. We have to be patient as we're looking at this. But the first game, I think the TCU Horned Frogs are going to crush Colorado, and I think Nebraska's basically going to do the same thing to Colorado within the next week. So we got TCU minus 20.5. I'm going to be very interested to see what the PATC community has when they vote on this game tomorrow. Massachusetts at Auburn. Yes, I'm going there. I am going there. UMass, they did a lot to beat me in week 0. They're not going to beat me this week because I'm taking UMass plus 35.5. They got all lathered up against New Mexico State. Their transfer quarterback, Tyson Parmesan from Clemson, he looked pretty good. He looks like he can make some plays with his legs. He threw some decent passes. UMass defense is legit. Of course, they're going to struggle up against better teams like Auburn. Auburn is favored by 5 touchdowns for a reason. But I'm going to take that plus 35.5. Hugh Freeze's first game as Auburn's head coach. Peyton Thorne is their starting quarterback. Michigan State's Peyton Thorne, he had one good year at Michigan State. He had one good year there in Sparty country. But I don't think Auburn's going to win maybe 4-5 games this year. And this is going to be one of them. But are they going to come out of the chute and crush Massachusetts by 36, 37, 38, 40 points? I don't think so. Jarquez Hunter, he did some good things at running back, kind of an all-purpose running back type of player. 6.5 yards. He's going to get the ball a lot more. He's going to get a lot more touches. Robbie Ashford got beat out by Peyton Thorne. We shall see. But I got UMass plus 35.5. Boise State at Washington. Do I have to say more? You guys know who I'm picking. The Washington Huskies. They're going to send a message, just like Notre Dame Fighting Irish, just like they sent their message against Navy. The Washington Huskies are going to send a message versus Boise State. You remember now, they got McMillan coming back. They got Ondunze coming back, the great wide receivers. They got Michael Penix coming back. They got their offensive coordinator coming back. Kalen DeBoer, they've run it back this year. They are ready week 1. Week 1, not a problem for the Washington Huskies. Not an issue. There's no team ready to play more in week 1 than the Washington Huskies. 14.5, that's a gift, baby. That is an absolute gift. Take it and run. This is one of the games in week 1 that is going to make Greg the Cooler start burning up, baby. Start burning up. Washington Huskies minus 14.5. Oh boy. West Virginia and Penn State. I love the Mountaineers. You guys know this. I love singing Country Roads. I love their underdog spirit. But I don't like them in this game. Penn State should be a 4-touchdown favorite. Not a 3-touchdown favorite. Not at home. Not at night. Not on prime time. On NBC. The first Big Ten game, home game on NBC. Penn State, Singleton, Allen, the great running backs. Drew Aller, everybody, the nation is going to find out about Penn State's quarterback on Saturday night on NBC. Penn State is going to roll, and I've said this for months. West Virginia, do not let this loss beat you twice. Recover from this game. You didn't quite recover from that agonizing close loss to your rivals against Pittsburgh last year. Don't let this game beat you twice. Penn State's going to roll. We got them minus 20.5. And of course, we've got the Nittany Lions winning the whole thing this year. Winning the Big Ten, winning the national championship. Yes, we are that crazy. LSU, Florida State. Holy smokes. What a game. The great linebacker Perkins from LSU. Oh, Daniels, the quarterback. He's healthy. They got a stud receiver. They always do. Brian Kelly's second year at Baton Rouge. Heck, we got LSU going back to the SEC championship game against Georgia this year. We love LSU here at Peek Around the Corner. We think they're going to win all their games in the 2023 season, except for this one and the SEC championship game. We've got the Florida State Seminoles covering plus 2.5. This is it, baby. The Florida State Seminoles. Florida State Seminoles. Jordan Travis. Benson. This is his year now. He's got to make it count. He's got to be consistent. He's got to hit the right holes. He can break tackles, but he has to hit the right holes. Trey Benson, running back, Florida State. Johnny Wilson, the great 6'7" wide receiver, just scratching the surface. And of course, the best football player in Florida State is on the defensive side of the field. Jared Verse, the great defensive end, the great pass rusher. He could have been and went to the NFL. He decided to come back. Florida State, plus 2.5. Take the Seminoles. They're going to win in a great football game. Man, I'm all fired up about that game. We're going to be doing a live watch party on that game as well. Clemson at Duke. I've hinted about this game a week ago. I think Clemson's going to play close to the vest. Klubnik's first game under the new offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley, who came from TCU. Clemson's got a good running backs. It's not just about Shipley. They got another cat. They're going to run the ball. I think they're going to be conservative. This first game, I think they're going to be conservative. They're institute a whole new offensive package. It's going to be way more complicated than what Dabo Sweeney has been running there at Clemson for years. It's going to work, but it's not going to work quite that good on week one. There's a lot to bring into the Clemson's offense. They don't want to show too much as well. Right? They have big games just a few weeks away, Clemson does. Florida State. So I think they're going to play it close. Riley Leonard with Calhoun, the great wide receiver of Duke. I think the Duke Blue Devils can cover the 12.5 points. And I'm pretty interested to see what the PATC community votes on the next live show. Who you taking? PATC falling in love with Clemson already? We shall see. We shall see. I think that's a trap game. Florida at Utah. Well. There is some steam that Cam Rising is playing. There's some steam. It doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. I know that sounds crazy. I think he's going to play, but regardless, we are taking Utah minus 6.5. This is the first time that Florida has played a road game, a true road game, at an opponent's home field outside the state of Florida versus a Power 5 opponent, the first true road game in 30 years. That's 3 decades for those in the state of Wisconsin, to help you understand. 30 years. Florida's going into an environment that they're not ready. And, of course, Florida's quarterback is Graham Mertz. And there is no way under this sun that we live under that Utah doesn't have Graham Mertz all figured out, where he only can process half the field, unless Florida, unless Billy Napier, unless they've been able to develop Graham Mertz to where Wisconsin could not do it under Paul Chryst. That's always a possibility, I guess. But I think people are going to learn hard and fast on this Thursday night game, starting a little bit before Nebraska and Minnesota. I think people are going to learn why Wisconsin has lost to Minnesota. They lost the Axe 2 years in a row, the first time since 93 and 94. Graham Mertz, starting quarterback of the Florida Gators. I've got Utah, a -6.5. And then finally, the last game of the great 8 picks, a peek around the corner. Nebraska at our beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. Thursday night, we're going to be doing a live watch party. It's going to be 80 degrees at kickoff. 80 and sunny. It's going to be beautiful. Jam-packed Huntington Bank Stadium. It's been sold out for quite a while. Now, the quarterback situation. Ethan Kaliakmanis, the Greek Rifle, versus Jeff Sims. Both quarterbacks are going to make some plays. They're going to make some high elite level plays. And both quarterbacks are going to be throwing an interception in this game. The roller coaster scenario that both teams want to get away from with their quarterbacks, I don't think they're going to get away with it here in game 1. I think we're going to have some turnovers. But Nebraska's not ready, ladies and gentlemen. And it's nothing against Matt Rule. They do not have the players to play with Minnesota. Does that sound crazy? It shouldn't if you've been following close attention to this football series. Nebraska, yes, they get high recruiting classes. Oh, of course they do. But when you see them on the field, Minnesota's a much better developed football program. And Matt Rule, he's there to try to change it all there at Lincoln, Nebraska. They've got all the advantages. They've got the money. They got the NIL program. They got a huge fan base. Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, they don't have a professional team. They love their Cornhuskers. The fan base is in love, even with all these losing seasons in a row. Nebraska has advantages. And if Matt Rule is the guy who can turn the key and open up the possibilities for Nebraska, they will rise again. But not on Thursday night. Not against my beloved Golden Gophers. Minnesota, my fear for the Gophers, and I've made this perfectly clear, and it's why I have them at 6-6, 7-5. They have too many questions in the back 7 when it comes to depth. Are there good reports coming out? Can Jack Henderson, the transfer from Southeast Louisiana, take over the slot cornerback position? He may. Can they find a cornerback opposite of Justin Wiley? They might. The starting safety spot next to the great Tyler Nubin, there's a couple guys there. Green, and there's guys there. But can one of them step up and take the majority of the snaps against Big Ten play during the 2023 season? Can the special teams rise for once? A lot of questions. But they have a very good defensive line. They have a good offensive line, even though it's going to take a half a step back. The wide receiver room is impressively good this year. They have the second, third, or fourth best tight end in the whole country, Brevin Spann-Ford. He's going to pop. If you watch the game Thursday night, the Gophers tight end, Brevin Spann-Ford, he's going to pop. You look at the chemistry that he had with the Greek Rifle in that game against Wisconsin last year. They were dynamic. I've got the Gophers winning this game by 14 points, 2 touchdowns. I don't think Nebraska's going to be able to score a whole lot of points against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Earlier, a couple weeks ago, I thought this was going to be a high-scoring game. I've dialed it back. Jeff Sims, he can do some things this year. He threw a lot of interceptions at Georgia Tech, 30 touchdown passes, 23 interceptions. He can run the ball. He can run with. But the Gophers have been playing against this type of quarterback at Nebraska for the last 4 years, and they've had no problem with it. Does Nebraska finally establish running back one? They've got Irvin now as running back one. Is he the guy? Can he carry the ball? Is he the cowbell type of running back that Nebraska desperately needs? I'm not quite sure on that. So, Nebraska, there's a report out here. I'm posting it. Arik Gilbert, this incredible freak, athletic freak tight end that they got in the transfer portal, that started at Florida, committed there, actually played at LSU, Georgia, transferred to Nebraska in his second transfer, looking to get a waiver. He got arrested this morning on a burglary charge amid ongoing questions about his eligibility. Nebraska tight end Gilbert was arrested on a burglary charge Tuesday morning on 3, and Huskers Online, Sean Callahan has learned he transferred to Nebraska from Georgia this offseason. Gilbert was taken into custody Tuesday morning in Lancaster County, according to police records. Now, he wasn't going to be probably a big-time player for Nebraska. I mean, they were hoping, but he still hasn't cleared waivers. So it wasn't really going to be a big effect on this game. But again, it's something that Nebraska has to deal with as they're ready to travel to Minneapolis. So we've got the Gophers minus 7.5. So we're going to go through this real quick once again. Official pick, TCU minus 20.5. We're taking Massachusetts plus 35.5. We got Washington minus 14.5. PATC's got Penn State minus 20.5. PATC's got the Florida State Seminoles plus 2.5. PATC's got Duke plus 12.5. PATC's got Utah minus 6.5. PATC's got Minnesota minus 7. In the next live show, you, the PATC voters, will choose what side you are on in all those games, and we're going to go head-to-head. Once again, Greg the Cooler versus the community. Fake Tom Osborne, thank you for your super chat. I think Nebraska pulls off the upset. All pressure on the Gophers. Opening game at home. It's a gold out. All the fans are supposed to wear their gold. The Gophers have everything to lose. Nebraska can play spoiler. There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth. I agree with fake Tom Osborne. All the pressure is on the Gophers. Matt Rule is not going to be judged by win and losses this year. And the Gophers, they have to play Michigan. They have to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. They have to play North Carolina. So, this type of game, conference game at home, week 1, Thursday night, yes, more pressure on the Gophers. I agree with that. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much. Let's get to your Okay, we'll get to your comments here. So let's get to the ACC story. And then we'll get to your comments and your phone calls. We can talk about week 1 college football games, talk about my predictions, tell me how I'm going to freeze yet another week, or this ACC story that continues to go on. According to reports, according to Yahoo Sports, there's no presidential vote set up yet. In other words, now they delayed the president's call last night. And it was reported they delayed it because of the horrendous shooting at the University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But they didn't have the call today. And now, Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, are meeting with the other 9 commissioners and Jack Swarbrick of Notre Dame in Dallas, Texas tomorrow to talk about what's going to happen with the college football playoffs for 2024 and 2025. Are they going to change the 6+6? The 6 conference champions, top 4 conference ranked champions get a bye. The 6 top ranked conference champions get an automatic bid, and then there's 6 at-large bids. Are they going to change the 6+6 model? Because of the implosion, and it looks like complete elimination of the Pac-12. It looks like we're going to 10 FBS conferences to 9. So the speculation is we're going to go from a 6+6 model to a 7+5 model. 7 at-large bids, 5 conference champion auto bids. And then there's some people out there saying, forget about all the automatic bids, conference champion automatic bids. Let's go to a 12 best. I think the chances of that happening in 2024, in 2025 is 0. There's going to be automatic bids. Here's the thing. For the 2024-25 playoffs, in which we have a 6+6 model settled on, voted on, that model, for it to change again, there has to be a unanimous vote, consensus, throughout all the conferences. That includes the 5 G5 conferences. It's not going to be it has to be everybody agreeing with it for 2024, 2025. So the argument is, from our perspective here at Peek Around the Corner, the argument, the discussion is going to be around 2 things. 1, are you going to change the 6+6 to a 7+5? And the distribution of the revenue. Those are the 2 discussion points. And how can you come up with a decision, final decisions, when you do not know if you're at 10 FBS conferences or 9 going into 2024? It looks like we're going to be at 9. It looks like Pac-12 is going to be eliminated. But if Stanford and California do not get the ability to get an invite from the ACC and they come back to Washington State and Oregon State, there is the slightest chance that the Pac-12 will try to attempt and possibly be successful in rebuilding the conference, and then therefore you'd go back to 10 FBS conferences. I don't think it's going to happen. But reports, Yahoo Sports and others are saying there's no decision going to be made tomorrow. There's hardly going to be any discussion. I think it's going to center more around the revenue component. How are they going to split the revenue? This huge revenue that's coming in for 11 playoff games. We think at Peek Around the Corner, it's going to be 80% of the total revenue distributed evenly among all the Power 5 schools, and 20% of the total pot distributed evenly among the G5 schools, with some money left over to pay more to the schools on performance. If they get to the playoffs, if they get to the semifinals, if they win the championship game. That's how we think it's going to happen. But we shall see. Again, no real decisions are going to be made tomorrow because of the ACC's indecision. So let's go to the ACC's indecision. What is going on? Again, we were told that it is not about Florida State's North Carolina State. It's not about making sure that they can get their exit ramp more cleared in negotiating this possible expansion with the other ACC schools. It literally is about the money aspect. And Florida State, especially Florida State, especially Clemson, they want more, whatever money comes out of this pot. SMU taking no media revenue for 7 years. California, Stanford possibly taking 25% of the cut, that they 25% of the full share for the first couple years. Whatever the total money is at the end of the day, that's added to the pot for the current 14, 15 ACC schools, be it 55 million, be it 60 million. Florida State and Clemson wants more of that pot to be distributed by performance, while most of the schools want most of that money to be distributed flat fee to every single school if they're going to take on California, Stanford, and SMU. That's where we believe the argument is. None of this affects the ACC GORE. If these schools come in, they have to sign the ACC GORE that lasts to 2036. None of this affects composition clause. It does. The conference is not dropping below 15, and Notre Dame is not joining the conference. So we don't believe this compensation clause has anything to do with what's going on today, and the dissolution theory has nothing to do with what's going on today. That's a very unpopular reporting that I'm giving out on our last live show and this live show, because people want to believe that there's something bigger going on. And by the way, let's be honest, not having a vote, not having a phone call today and a vote gives some juice to people who believe, they're not having a vote because it's more than about money. I used to believe that just a few days ago, but I've been told by serious people, another one today, that it isn't about the exit ramps. It's about the actual dollars, and Clemson, especially Florida State, is. And of course, and Monavision's made some really good comments on this. Immaculate has made some great comments on this. The whole thing about the optics of this. I wonder how big an issue that is, because Notre Dame, if Stanford, California, SMU, if they get into the conference, the optics that Notre Dame got what they wanted again. Even though internally Florida State may think, and they may be accurate, we're being told this is the case, that this does not affect their ability to leave the conference. It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it more difficult if they expand. That the optics that Florida State has to face with their boosters, with their fan base, that once again Notre Dame calls the shot in the conference. That is something to think about. And that's going to be a very difficult pill for Florida State to swallow, to eventually become that yes vote. Let's get to your comments. Let's get to your phone calls. I talk about anything you want. What I said in the monologue about my picks, about the ACC, about the playoffs. ESPN has made a deal with the movie theater, Cinemark. 75 college football games going to be played at the movie theaters. most of them ACC football. You can go watch your team play at a movie theater. A lot of negative comments about it. It's not something that I would do. It's not something I would be interested in. But I think it's interesting. I do. For people to go, people do that with certain live sporting events. It may become more of a thing where you go to the movie theater, they're serving you beer, food, you get to cheer in a crowd environment. I can see why the movie theaters would be interested, because a 3.5-hour college football game, the money you make in concession stands and the concessions, I can understand the theater thinking about it. I can understand why ESPN wants to try it out. I get it. It's not something I would be interested in. So I'd be interested in your comments as well, with your comments and your phone call. There's so much to cover in college football. I can't even get to it all. Greg, I'm disappointed in you for not picking the mighty Gators. I'm sorry, B Bean. I can't do it. I got to take Utah. Graham Mertz, I think you're all going to get an education here real fast on Graham Mertz down there in Gainesville. Will Florida State be in the ACC in 2 years? Their plan is not to be playing football in the ACC in 2025. We'll see how they pull it off. But that is their plan. At least that's what we've been told. We were told on December 26, 2022, first quarter of 2024 is when they will act. Now we believe it could be sooner. Immaculate. That is not what Florida State folks are saying. Maybe your sources are wrong this time. That could be absolutely true. It's not about belief only. It's about what actually makes sense. No way, those dollars amounts are not big, and they're not. They're not. The difference between cutting up $55-60 million, putting a little bit more money in distribution, being a little less, I agree with you as well on that. Our web, will the PATC theater show... I should have been ready for that one. Holy smokes. That's a classic, our web. That's a classic. No, I don't think so. We are an independent theater, and I don't think ESPN is interested in using us as their distribution partner. But thank you so much for the super chat, our web. Thank you for your continued generosity to the show. Jared Jones, Buckeyes -30. I did not touch the Buckeyes-Indiana game. I did not touch South Carolina 2.5, North Carolina game. Lots of games I did not touch. I took the best 8, not the best 8 games, obviously, but the ones I thought I had the best chance of actually winning a game. So, okay, let's get to your phone calls. I'll keep monitoring the comments. Again, if you want your comment read, put down a donation and we'll read it. We'll do a deep dive on the comment if needed. Please smash that like button if you like the content. It helps us with the algorithms of YouTube so very much. The phone lines are now officially open. 763-260-1333. And again, in regards to the ACC situation, I admit not having a vote today gives a little bit more juice to maybe there's more about all of these negotiations other than just money. But again, we had a report yesterday, and today it is just about the money because that's what people are telling us. So we shall see what happens. Buckle up, brace for impact. Bunch of Gainesville may not have any power to see Mertz play Thursday. Nose may get hurt worse. Yeah, it looks like that hurricane is, the eye of it's gonna hit to the right of Tallahassee. So Tallahassee's going to be on the left of the hurricane. You want to be on the left of the hurricane more than on the right side of the eye of the hurricane. But either way, there's going to be some, it's reported some strong storm surge. It's not going to be pretty. So praying for everybody down there in Florida, especially on the western shores, northwestern shores especially. Phone lines.
Call from
Immaculate.
Mr. Hawkeye is on the line. I avoided the Iowa game. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm just going to watch, going to analyze the Hawkeyes, going to do a deep dive, going to go through the tapes over and over again at the end of that game, and we'll see what I do with them the following week. But the floor is yours. You do have some juice. Now, I mean, there's nothing going on.
We can talk about Cade this time.
Huh?
We can talk about Cade. He's the starting quarterback. It's all good, right?
Oh, is he? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well,
maybe that's a mistake. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe they're bringing him back too early.
Maybe.
Maybe they're doing it because they got to average 25 points a game.
Yeah. That's an angle.
Yeah, that's an angle. I'll take it. I'll take any angle. All right. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I was waiting to see if anyone else was calling it first. I didn't want to just jump all over after you showed my comments there. But I did want to say that I meant no disrespect, and your sources have proven out time and time again. And so it's not that I necessarily, think anything about that, but
they could be wrong. They could be wrong.
We're in such an important moment right now. My only caution to you would be, at some point in time, they might need you to put out something for them.
Oh, and that's happened many times.
Yeah, because
I've admitted that. And I've admitted
I don't want to project anything on anyone I don't know.
Yeah.
But just from my own seating position where I'm at, I'm looking at it going, this story just doesn't make any sense. A week ago, okay. Now it just doesn't make any sense. We have the numbers in front of us. It's all been shown to us. This isn't that difficult, and it's over pennies, basically, to them.
Yeah.
My thought is this: the money that they're actually trying to work on getting divvied up is a lot more, and it's the exit fee money for schools leaving.
Yeah.
Because if you're a school that doesn't have a spot in the Big Ten, the SEC, or the Big 12, do you want some other schools sticking around for a little bit, collecting the exit fee money, and then using that exit fee money to pay their own exit fee? At that point in time, you want everyone to get out, pay and get the F out. And that's a lot of money. That could be up to $1 billion if it's 10 schools at $100 million a pop. You don't want someone sticking around there, grabbing some exit fee money, then using it 2 years later to get themselves out. It could be the polarity of this whole situation could have been completely flipped, and we wouldn't know. And they sure as hell aren't going to tell us that's going on if that's happening. Then everyone's losing their mind.
Well, I will say this. In respect to that last point, I was told today, I was assured today that there's a high level of belief that I'll just say it this way, that people would know if the scenario that you're putting out, that I used to put out, that this is, that part of the negotiations is the possibility of clearing a little bit of the exit ramp, right? That they, and I mean they, people in the business, they would know. Like, there would people that would know. And of course, my follow-up question was, well, maybe there are people that know and haven't reported it, because you can't always report what you know, which we've talked about on the show. And I was told that that just doesn't believe to be, there's nobody out there that believes that that is part of this particular storyline in and around this negotiations. And also, the Florida State money perch also also believes there's nothing of that going on. And Florida State has their, I wouldn't say have their ducks in a row, but they have, again, we reported this like a month ago, and other people are, I think, about to pick up on this, that Florida State, they're looking for that long runway. And I think you're going to hear that description being used. The long runway to where they're going to give ample opportunity for the ACC communications to say, we're willing to meet your price. Florida State talking to the ACC saying, what will it take to buy us out of this grant of rights? And that none of this, according to the Florida State money perch, even today, none of what's going on has anything to do with Florida State's plans in that. Now, again, I'll say this. All our sources could be wrong, number one. Number two, we were never told about the Magnificent Seven, right? Before it happened.
Yep.
Number two. And number three, nothing going on today. No president talks, no vote. Phillips is going to the to the playoff meeting tomorrow in Dallas, Texas, without any resolution of what's going on. That does provide juice to the immaculate theory. So all that is also true.
Yeah, and I certainly don't know anything. I just I have is my analysis. I don't have sources that can, turn me this way or that way. And we had, and going off of some of the media reports, we had talk about how the presidents were breaking off into different groups to deal with this in different ways. And that kind of looks like two different parties kind of, this is our side of it, that's their side of it. And so it looks like it was just part of the vote. But as this carries forward, kind of start to wonder about that. And then we had reports from McMurphy, which really changed the storyline a lot. And then to hear this kind of pushing back on that the moment he brings it up, I kind of have a hard time believing that McMurphy was just making that up just because people have been talking about it. Maybe he did, but that tends to not be McMurphy's style. He tends to just be, he speaks for other people, right? Like other people speak through him. That's what he does. And then we have the Wellinger and Pat Ford situation where they're talking about this, and they directly put in their articles, directly, word for word, talking about the dissolution vote theory and how these things are popping up. So, we've just got this push and shove going on, right? Different sources saying different things, and it's kind of like, I just kind of have to look and say, what makes sense right now? And I could definitely be wrong.
Now, Opie in the chat, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate your incredible generosity to this show. Way and above, thank you, sir. Thank you, Opie. He asked the question, does Notre Dame get that money as well from the SMU, California, and Stanford? We believe the answer is no, that this goes to the 14 schools, that this would be cut up with the 14 other schools. Notre Dame would not get a part of this. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that, Immaculate.
I would think that they wouldn't, but I think that they kind of spent their political capital in trying to get these schools in. I think that you'd have a hard time also giving them money. That's not really the money I think ND's concerned with. I think Notre Dame's more concerned with trying to get, if they're really going to push for more money, that's like from NBC and stuff. This type of money is kind of small change. So no, I would probably say no as far as ND getting any money. That's what would make sense anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much more I really got on that. I just wanted to say, I didn't mean any disrespect towards you.
I don't. No, I don't. You're fine, sir. We don't know. We'll see what happens. I can only, like all the stories, I can only put out there what I'm being told, and oftentimes I'm being told different stuff. Right? This time it's all one. No, this has nothing to do with exit ramps. This has to do with Florida State playing hardball with making sure that enough money is in the performance pool, like maybe all of it. But either way, we'll see what happens. I mean, look, they don't have the votes yet, else they would have called and had the votes. So
could be the point be that they're actually trying to hold up things so that the college football playoff meeting can't be that consequential right now. I mean, it's kind of a far reach, but at the same time, that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, if that's the result, I don't know if that's the motivation. But I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
More cloak and dagger, maybe.
Because it's just, I find it hard, like they're taking this long to figure out how to decide whether you get $2 million or $1.5 million, or it's kind of like, I don't know. It's fighting over pennies. We'll see, buddy. I just want to call him about that.
Got it. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Great call. The phone line's open, 763-260-1333. Some people don't like that I'm calling those schools the Magnificent Seven. You bring up a good point.
Call from
Moen Vision. He's on the line, Mr. Buckeyes. I don't think he's upset with me about me not taking the Buckeyes and giving Indiana all those points. I think he's probably quite happy I am staying away from the game. The floor is yours, sir. What do you got to say?
Jack Swarbrick is the hypocrite of all hypocrites. If he votes to let SMU buy themselves a seat at the table.
Yeah.
The man came out last week or a week and a half ago and said it's an indictment on college athletics that brands like Stanford and Cal could be left behind.
Yeah.
What is a bigger indictment than letting a school pay to join your conference?
Yeah, and that gets us back to Florida State again, where if this happens, if Florida State becomes one of the yes votes, right? They expand, and then 3 months from now, Florida State goes to Jim Phillips and says, look, we voted yes for a school to pay themselves into the conference. You all should vote yes to have us be able to have the chance, the opportunity to pay our way out of the conference. What do you think of that?
I don't disagree, Greg, but I mean, for somebody to get up on their pedestal and finger wag the Big Ten and the Big 12 and go, oh my God, how awful. What an indictment of college athletics. And then to make this push to let a school bribe their way in with 30 pieces of silver is absolutely ridiculous. Jack Swarbrick should be absolutely ashamed of himself. He's a hypocrite of the highest order. And Notre Dame should, quite frankly, be ashamed of themselves. If the ACC, if any of these 4 no votes switch to yes, they're going to be just as guilty as Notre Dame is. The ACC will lose so much integrity if they want to allow SMU to buy a seat at the table. I can understand Cal, I can understand Stanford, but if you let SMU, a team who wasn't a good enough G5 to actually get called up, buy their way in, my God, the ACC is going to have a perception problem on their hands, because they're going to be perceived as, we're the conference that bows down to Notre Dame, who won't be a full member, and we're the conference who lets people buy their memberships.
Well, you were the guy who brought up the great comment, and of course I stole it from you. You brought up the great comment yesterday about just the pure optics of it all. If Stanford and California and SMU enter into the conference, Notre Dame once again is going to be perceived, rightly or wrongly, and probably this case rightly, of calling the shots within the ACC, a non-full member of the ACC. Notre Dame, a football program that is independent, is not part of the ACC, is pushing the conference to expand with Stanford and California, and it looks like we're on the precipice of the other ACC schools acquiescing to what Notre Dame wants once again. You made that great comment yesterday.
Yes, and in particular for Jack Swarbrick to sit up there and say it's an indictment, and then to pull, I'll try and keep it clean. I'll keep it clean on your show, Greg.
Yeah, please.
I'll cuss on Nate's show. I'll keep it real dirty over on Nate's show. But it's just to pull this kind of crap from Notre Dame. How dare Jack Swarbrick? And any Notre Dame fans who support this, I don't care. That's just ridiculous. Have a little bit of integrity. If you're you got to practice what you preach, guys. Don't get up there and preach about indicting everybody else while you're willing to do something that is far more devastating and basically selling a seat at the table. So that's all I got to say, Greg.
All righty.
That's my rant on your show for the night.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Monovision. Thank you, sir. I brought up some good points once again. Fake Tom Osborne. Nebraska, Northwestern, and Ireland last year had more viewers than Notre Dame Navy. But, look, it was a 42-3 game. I saw one report that was 3.5 million viewers for Notre Dame game, and I saw another report it was 3.81 million. That's pretty good. I mean, it was a 42-3 game. That's going to have an impact on the viewership. For basically a standalone Saturday game to start the season, 42-3, there's nothing wrong with that viewership number, in my opinion. But you got to have, how the game goes is a big influence on the number of views in that game. It's a variable that you have to take account for. In Nebraska, Northwestern was a competitive game. Northwestern won it at the end. It was the only game that Northwestern won all season. So it's kind of difficult to compare the two. Yeah, but Nebraska had like 5 losing seasons before that. Talk about brand lower. Nebraska's taken a hit on their brand, but it's still a big brand. I mean, let's be honest. Big brand. But it's taken a hit. But a competitive game, we'll just have to agree to disagree. 42-3, getting over 3 million views, well over 3 million views. That's a good number. John Teal, say one thing and do another is the American way, ACC. Thank you, John, again, for your continued generosity to this show, to this YouTube channel. I appreciate it so very much. Now, let's be fair. Let's be fair. It hasn't happened yet. They haven't expanded yet. So, they haven't done anything, right? They don't have to deal with the horrible optics of Notre Dame calling the shots on expansion because it hasn't happened yet. So, we may have to wait on that. Georgia fan wanting to say, love the show. Howdy, thank you so much. DS One Shot for coming into the house. The Georgia Bulldogs going for a three-peat. The first three-peat in college football history since the beloved Golden Gophers of 1934, 35, 36. So somebody has to stop the Bulldogs this year. And I think that somebody is going to be the Nittany Lions in the Natty Championship, 28-23. Penn State over Georgia, but I think Georgia's going to get there. I think Georgia's going to get there once again. And of course, they're the favorite to win it all. Even with Carson Beck as their quarterback, first-year starter, but they are loaded. So, Georgia Bulldogs, they're the favorite. They're the favorites to win the whole thing. Fake Tom Osborne, thank you for your super chat once again. Greg, let's get down to brass tacks. Notre Dame cucking the ACC. Again, let's see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be an issue. Optic issue. No question about it. Notre Dame is not used to someone telling them no. Hoping the Dogs don't three-peat. Please, God, no. Florida State, what's the issue with giving the pot to the best teams? Well, you know, in one aspect, you may have something there, Florida State plug. But if Florida State's going to push this, then you better be one of the better teams in the next decade. Because Florida State hasn't been in the ACC in the last decade. Although we at Peek Around the Corner have the Florida State Seminoles beating LSU and going to the college football playoffs this year, along with Georgia, Penn State, Nittany Lions, and the Washington Huskies. I love the Florida State Seminoles this year. They should be getting even more love. I don't quite understand why Clemson was picked in the media poll. Do I have that still up here? I don't think I do. No, I don't. But the media poll, Clemson's number one. I don't understand that. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. I got to read something here real quick. Okay. If you're new to the show, if you like our content, please smash the like button. It helps us with the algorithms of YouTube so very much. Also, subscribe to the show. It's the one way to get notified. And please follow us at Flug Empire. You see the X account, Twitter account on the bottom of the page and the ticker. And call us at 763-260-1333. Let's talk about the Week 1 football games. Talk about the games that I did not pick. South Carolina, North Carolina. Rattler versus Drake May. Let us know what you're thinking. I couldn't touch that game. There's no way I could touch that game. North Carolina. They have a little bit of a worry in the wide receiver room. They've got a great quarterback, but they don't have enough production. Their great transfer coming in from Kent State has not been able to get the waiver to play this year. So there is some worry on that. South Carolina, Beamer's done a really good job. People are very, very optimistic. Gamecock country. But are they really going to take the next step? Are they really going to take the next step? If they beat North Carolina in almost a pick'em game, if they beat North Carolina, they could be the wild card. They could be the David in the SEC against a couple of Goliaths. That could make more upsets. I've got Kentucky being that team. I've got Kentucky being the sleeper. But there's a whole lot of people in the PATC community has South Carolina. They can send a message. They can send a message against North Carolina in week 1. And quite frankly, if I'm going to be greedy, and I think I am, the Gophers play North Carolina in a few weeks. If South Carolina, if they want to put a little bit of a, if they want to create a fracture within the North Carolina team and beat down North Carolina in week 1, I'm okay with it. But I'm not sure they're going to. That's why I had to stay away from the game. Tough Tony, he likes South Carolina. AMAC, Florida State, all breaks, no gas. People are sleeping on Florida State this year. People are sleeping. Fake Tom Osborne, Florida State talks loud, waiting for them to play loud. Very good way of putting it. But I think they're going to talk very loud, and it all starts Sunday night. LSU Tigers. Florida State Seminoles. Media's not drinking the Kool-Aid. And, of course, from a Cornhuskers, nobody knows more about Kool-Aid drinking than Big Red. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Seminoles. I'm drinking it. I've drank enough for everybody. Florida State and Washington and Penn State. LFG, Swarbrick manipulating in whatever ways in the furtherance of Notre Dame's selfish interest. Guilty all day. Let's take one more look at my picks, my official picks. For week 1, we've got the TCU Horned Frogs quarterback Chandler Morris, Savion Williams, the wide receiver. Going to try to take that wide receiver 1, make some plays. He caught about 30 passes last year. We'll see what he can do. We don't think Colorado's ready to compete at a decently high enough level to keep within 3 touchdowns of TCU. We've got TCU minus 20.5. Massachusetts plus 35.5. We're going with them. Good defense. Now, of course, they're stepping up in play. Right? Auburn's going to win the game. Hugh Freeze's first game at Auburn. Place is going to be sold out. Peyton Thorne, their quarterback. Is he going to have a big game? Jaquez Hunter, running back. It's not the best roster Auburn has seen, that's for sure. They've got a lot of work to do. Massachusetts has already gathered up some sweat. First week win. We got UMass covering 35.5. Washington minus 14.5. This is a no-brainer from our perception. Washington Huskies going to send a message. McMillan, Odunze, Michael Penix. Penn State. We got Penn State Nittany Lions minus 20.5. It's going to be NBC prime time. The Mountaineers coming in there with Garrett Green, the quarterback. Now, he's got a gun. He's got some legs. Right? He can make some plays. Running back C.J. Donaldson, we all saw what he did last year. The big guy, converted big tight end running back. He kind of runs too upright. He got a little injured, nicked up last year. Hopefully he can stay healthy. West Virginia, they love their offensive line. It's experience. There's some pedigree there. Can they push around Penn State? Can they keep that Penn State offense off the field? Can they lessen the possessions between the two teams for all 4 quarters? Keep the game tight? All that is a possibility. But I think this Penn State, I think this is the best roster Franklin has had at Happy Valley. I think Penn State rolls for a 4-touchdown win. We shall see. LSU, Florida State, you all know I got the Seminoles. I'll take those 2.5 points. I'll take those 2.5 points. LSU, we love LSU, but we love Florida State just a little bit more. Clemson at Duke. We're taking Duke plus 12.5. We think Clemson's going to play pretty conservative. They brought in a whole new offense. Offensive new coordinator, Garrett Riley. Their offense is going to be a lot more significant, a lot more complicated, a lot more pre-snap movement, a lot more different packages, diversity, versus what Dabo's been running there for the last few years. So I think it's going to take time to implement. I think they know that. I don't think they want to show Florida State too much. So they're going to play tight. Riley Leonard going to make some plays at the quarterback position for Duke. Calhoun, the possession, great receiver for Duke. Duke stays within 12.5 points. Florida at Utah. We got the Utah Utes minus 6.5. We've been talking about this game for weeks and weeks and weeks. We don't think Florida is going to be the Florida Gators that you all know in 2023. We're not impressed with Graham Mertz. We're taking Utah. Nebraska at Minnesota. Call me a homer. That is true. Again, I got the Gophers going 6-6, 7-5 this year. I got them taking a half a step back from the last couple of years, the last 3 full seasons. But it doesn't mean that Minnesota doesn't have some talent. It doesn't mean they're not a well-coached team, because they are. They are switching up the offense just a little bit to match the talent that they have on the field. It's a little bit more diverse. It's a little bit more of a higher ceiling at the quarterback position. We got the Gophers minus 7.
Call from
Steve.
Steve, Mr. Cincinnati Bearcat, is on the line. What do you got to say, my friend?
I like all your picks, except I like LSU.
Ooh, LSU, Harold
Yeah.
Perkins.
I think, that guy's an animal.
Yeah.
It's going to be. There's going to be 60,000 in Orlando, and half of them are going to be LSU fans. So that negates a bit of the home field for Florida State.
Yes, sir. Good point.
If this hurricane gets through there, which it's supposed to be through there by then, so I don't think in the field conditions that's artificial turf or whatever that's called now. So I like LSU playing there. I don't know, I think it's going to be a great game. I think out of all the games, that's probably going to be the one everybody's looking at.
Yeah.
On a national level.
Yes.
As far as that goes. So, and Greg, with the ACC, I got a couple points, and I want your opinion, obviously. All 15 football schools, I'm putting Notre Dame in, obviously, have a contingency plan right now, probably have contingency plans for what may happen, whether SMU comes or SMU and Cal and Stanford come or they don't come, and if Florida State leaves and so forth. But how many no votes you think there actually are?
Well, I've been saying there's probably more than 4. There's probably a couple invisible no votes. But I can't give you a number. I definitely don't know. I'm guessing there's more than 4. But I'm also, and I know Immaculate and Monovision, maybe you and others probably disagree with me. But I'm and I've said this on the last live show, been told that some of those no votes are definitely gettable. In other words, I don't think they're just playing along with Jim Phillips. I think there is room for negotiations. I don't think they're playing this game with Jim Phillips and saying, hey, let's keep this alive, but in the back of their minds, they're definite no's. I think there's a little bit of room with some of those no votes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. You're going to think I'm completely off my rocker then, because I think there's 7 or 8 no votes.
Okay, all right.
I just do, for the fact that the situation they're in right now, why do they want any more hurdles that may present themselves if they know that they got to wait till 2036?
Yeah, that's a great question.
$3 million, is extra $2 or $3 million going to make any difference in the financial landscape of college football we're in right now, Greg?
It doesn't. The only way I can answer that great question is we were told that this expansion would not create any extra hurdles, that the dissolution theory is not in play. This is about a school defeating the Gorin courts or reaching a settlement with the ACC. But we'll see what happens.
Well, here's my view on that, and I could be all wet, but I think Florida State is going to do something, and I think they're going to do something before 2026.
Yeah. I think they're going to try something for sure. Yep.
Yep. Have you heard? And I haven't, but maybe it's come out. Have you heard anyone from the ACC say we're all in this together, like the PAC was saying? Have you heard anybody say that? I mean, no. We're all one. We're all going to get through this. I haven't heard it. Maybe it's come out. I don't know.
No, I don't believe anybody has whispered, said that in public in any way, fashion, or form. That is a great comment, Bearcat.
Well,
yeah.
Here's what I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. That's a great comment. Go ahead. Go with it.
Here's what I'm thinking. There's 4 or 5 of them. We're throwing Notre Dame in the mix, whether they're going to stay independent, and NBC gives them enough, or whatever. We don't know. But there's probably, let's say Notre Dame stays independent. So there's probably, to me, there is 8 to 10 teams that will have a landing spot, Greg. When you look at the Big Ten, SEC, and Big 12, if Florida State says, hey, we're getting through this, and then they get through it, and there's nothing hanging over their heads as far as litigation, they paid all their money that they were supposed to pay, and they end up in the SEC and the Big Ten, then I see the floodgates opening. Your opinion?
I really don't. I only can kind of say what I've been told. And there's a chance what I've been told is absolutely wrong, just like in anything we talk about. But
sure.
We think this is all about Florida State at some point communicating to the ACC that asking them what is the number for us to get out of here. And if you don't provide the number, we'll take you to court. This is about either winning the Gore, but more importantly in the courts, which could take a long time. More important, just coming up with a settlement, and if the ACC blinks on that, then Florida State will take them to court and asking for, trying to get a settlement out of this. And then if they do that, other schools will follow. That's kind of the pathway to this. We've been told over and over again, of course, everybody who's telling us this could be wrong. But we've been told over and over and over again, the scenario, how the ACC implodes before 2036 does not involve 8 schools voting to dissolve the conference.
I don't think that can happen, Greg.
What?
I don't think that can happen.
Yeah. Neither do the people that talk to us. So this is about one school leading into it, trying to talk to the ACC, and if there's any success, if there's any flinching, if the ACC acquiesce, if they have to because of the courts, or because Florida State has some magical poison in their communications with the ACC years ago, in which Florida State, let's just say, for example, can prove some fraud case against ACC, whatever it is, a settlement or some other poison pill that Florida State has. If Florida State has any amount of success or perceived success, another school, and another school is going to follow. And I don't know how many that is, but your number 8 schools is not completely out of the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, as I look at everything and I look at the possible landing spots for 8 schools, or if you look at 4 for the SEC, if you look at 2, for the Big Ten, which one of them could be Notre Dame, and you look at 4 for the Big 12, where they all get to 20 and stop for now. I've said this before, and I really, really believe this, Greg.
Yeah.
I think there has to be, by next year at this time, by the end of the 2024 college football season, I think everybody's got to be settled in. I think because the negotiations are going to be ongoing with the networks, and if all the reports are true, the networks are going to have billions. Well, the networks are going to say, you all better get your house in order because we want to know what the hell we're going to spend billions of dollars on. You see what you am I making a point?
Yeah, you are. Yep.
So I just think next year at this time we could be talking about Florida State and a lot of other ACC schools going to the other 3 conferences by starting the 2025 season. I think that's a distinct possibility, and I think when it comes down to it, going back what you said about Florida State, we're either going to ask the ACC how much is it going to take, or if you're not going to give us what Florida State thinks is a fair number, then we may see you in court.
Yeah.
Do you think that's? I don't know what kind of number the ACC would give them.
It's going to be a lot beyond.
Yeah,
we're talking beyond the exit fee of $120 million. That's
right.
That's something.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, could be 300, 400, 500 more. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's just. I'm glad you gave me your opinion on some of these things because I've kind of been racking my brain.
Yep.
Trying to figure this out. Who's going to do what? It's not like it's anything new, I guess, in college football here the last couple of years. But
yeah.
It's this is a little different because it seems like now I'll go to the PATC theater. It seems like there's one university putting themselves on center stage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By themselves.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and that's Florida State.
Yes.
But I think that whatever happens with them will dictate, you know, and again,
You make a very good point. You know, Colorado was at the center of the stage, right?
They were.
And they were completely separate. They were going on their own. They were doing things that the other schools weren't doing. We were fortunate enough to report that to you guys all. We kept emphasizing Colorado's alone on the center stage. And they felt the necessity to act cloak and dagger style. They wanted to get out in front. They knew the most value that they brought to the Big 12 was to be the first ones out of the gate. Florida State, they have no qualms. Like you said, Bearcat Steve, they've got no qualms about being the only one out there right now. The only one talking. The Board of Trustees, the language that they're using. Richard McCullough, the president of Florida State, saying, I need to see radical change from the ACC, or you're going to see radical change from us. Of course, I'm paraphrasing that second part. But yeah, you make a great point. Once in a while, one of these universities, they feel the need. They have to step out in front. They have to be separate from everybody else to make sure to give themselves the best chance to put themselves in the best position. Risks be damned, basically.
Yep. I agree. Well, thanks, Greg. I enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed your viewpoint. I still like LSU.
Got it. I like Florida State.
All right.
We'll see what happens, sir. I love
All right,
LSU, by the way. But, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Great phone call. Thanks for dropping in, Mark. I appreciate it. Strong call, LFG. Absolutely. Bearcat Steve. Cincinnati. They're going to be playing Michigan State here soon. That's on September 9th. Who does Cincinnati's? I just looked at that game. Hold on, everybody. Eastern Kentucky. God, I just looked at that. Pittsburgh, September. Why do I say Michigan State? Pittsburgh, September 9th. That's going to be on the CW. Eastern Kentucky this Saturday. Cincinnati Bearcat. We're going to be closing it up. I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is week 1. Talking college football. I gave you my predictions of the next live show this week. I'm going to be hearing from you all. You're going to be voting on all these 8 games. Are you going to agree with me? Disagree with me? We shall see what happens. Last week, we both went 1-3. I went 1-3. You guys went 1-3. So we're going to be talking college football all week long. Thursday night, live watch party show for Nebraska and Minnesota. Yes, we're going to be talking about the Utah-Florida game as we talk about Nebraska and Minnesota. Watch party Thursday night. Watch parties throughout the weekend. Live shows throughout the weekend. Aftermath shows like we did on week 0. We're talking about all the games, after the games, the results. What does it all mean? I believe Notre Dame took a big step forward. Most of you think I'm crazy. I overreacted. We'll see what my reactions is after the Thursday night games. Do I have the Minnesota Golden Gophers winning more than 6, going 6-6 after what happens against the Nebraska Cornhuskers? We shall see. But I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm a longtime Golden Gopher fan, which means I have seen more losses than you could ever imagine. But the last 3 full seasons, the Minnesota Golden Gophers have won 29 games. They've won 4 in a row against Nebraska. Can they make it 5 in a row this Thursday night, Huntington Bank Stadium, 80 degrees, sunny at kickoff. And soon after the kickoff, it will be under the lights. So, until next time, from all of us at please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.